Recognize myself for 5 minutes. I think we earlier had some students from Paul VI High School. I don't know if we have any left, but thank them for joining us. And I wanted to start out by thanking Dr. Córdova for your strong statement about zero tolerance for sexual harassment that you recently made in light of some of the things that this committee as well as others had looked at. So as you may know, we had a hearing on sexual harassment in science and sort of the role that some of the, with these grants and people who really can determine your future in terms of whether you're going to get into the fields that you want, and how that impacted that because of harassment. And I think we didn't get into it as deep as we might, but I think it's something we do need to look at more, the long-term wage impact, because when you are, we know that when women are harassed in a specific field, they are very likely to leave that field and not get back into it. And particularly when you have some avenues here that if they're closed off, you may not have someplace else to go. I was wondering if you could just, in light of your very strong statement, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to address that, and maybe for the others, since we are blessed to have 3 women panelists here today, I thought it might be a good opportunity to hear directly from you.
Well, thank you very, very much, Chairwoman Comstock, for your passion, your interest, for having the hearing. And of course, we all listened to the hearing remotely. It was very good to get it all out on the table, and some very, very important points were made. The important thing to recognize about our statement, and now, of course, our statement has turned into a notice in the Federal Register that is open for public comment for 60 days. And we will be absorbing all those comments, and we're doing that as we go. We're not waiting to the end of the period, so we've already started that. Is that we also have robust processes to send compliance team reviews to universities to say, hey, are you doing what you're supposed to do? And we review their cases. The team talks with a lot of individuals at all levels of the university, from the students to the administration and all. And that's
and I was wondering, I forgot to add in, do we have percentages, and my apologies if I should know, but what percentage of these grants and projects are female-led?
We can certainly find that out. I mean, I know we have. Well, for one thing, earlier we talked a little bit about the annual merit review report that the agency produces for the National Science Board, and there we have the proposals as a function of gender and also minorities representation that are given to us in how many we approve. And so we can then make the assumption that if you're the lead investigator, that you are also leading the research. So yes, we have those statistics. And actually women do very well, I think about 1 percentage point higher success rate than male gender.
All right. And Dr. Zuber?
Yeah, so if I could just add, so the National Science Board fully supported the director in wanting to get out ahead of this issue. And we're particularly, there was a lot of discussion about this, but we were incredibly supportive of the fact that it's very, very important to have due process. But if a university has a process and an investigation takes place where it's enough evidence is deemed that it goes to a full-out investigation, that it needs to be reported to NSF, and this is because it might make sense to get a substitute principal investigator in there, and this is to really, care about the personal situation of the person who has been experiencing the harassment, and so we consider this to be a real step forward, and NSF as an agency has really taken the lead on this. And what I hope is other agencies, I think, are also looking at policies, and I hope we don't get a different policy for every agency. I hope that I personally think that the NSF policy. It's very thought out because the director had a great deal of experience, unfortunately, in dealing with issues like this on panels and such that have made recommendations throughout her career. And but it would be very cumbersome if all the agencies just came up with different ways of dealing with it.
And can I say one more thing, that this is only the beginning for us, that we are having bi-weekly meetings that Dr. Farini Mundi chairs within the agency to talk about what else we can do in this area. For example, codes of conduct at all our field sites, whether it's Antarctica or environmental field site, wherever we have hundreds of them. And are all the codes of conduct, do they all start with similar language? And then do they fulfill the basic needs, namely that if something happens at a field site, that you know exactly this has to be posted in an open public place, where to go, how to get help, and how to follow through. And so we are just consistently, we're going to keep working on this until we're satisfied that we have done everything we can, and we're hoping that in the public comment period there'll be even more suggestions about what else we might think of.
Okay, so this information will be out there so the students, the young women themselves will just have more of an awareness about it, where to go, how to proceed if something happens. Because I know as we're talking about the pipeline, I think of this week I was at a STEM charter school, and they had a STEM club that had been started by the young girls there. Then they were teaching the boys how to have one too. So they had the first one. And fourth graders, Coco and Miriam, who escorted me around their lab and told me about all their programs. It just was a real, I think we do have a different atmosphere going on in so many of our schools. And these kids, they were showing me the first graders who were coding already. And you really don't see a difference at that age because the kids haven't learned to have any differences yet, hopefully. And they had a lot of great role models like we have here. So just, any way we can get that message through and then sustain it so that we are keeping that pipeline, because it really did seem as we went through the process of the hearing, and if you watched it, you saw that the wage gap could very much be a much bigger part connected to sexual harassment than we have recognized in the past. So, okay. Well, I think I am up with my time, but...
Yes, I'll